So the purpose of this session is to give you an overview of some of these Geodesy organizations, some of the acronyms that you've heard Nick mentioning yesterday and us earlier today. It's also going to share some of the partners, so not specifically a Geodesy organization, but partners around the geospatial surveying space who are also very heavily involved in the Geodesy community, and set the scene around opportunities for participation and collaboration, because it should definitely not be a case of just asking for this, asking for information, asking for feedback, but also contributing, feeding in to sustain the community. The first up is the IUGG, the International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics, and that essentially is an umbrella organization that looks after the sciences around Earth systems and its environment. It's got many different subgroups and, let's say, many moving components in that, but the IUGG is the umbrella organization to the next two that we'll talk about today. There are 74 member countries in the IUGG, the dark green countries. So hopefully your nation is shown as dark green on that. And I have to say, this is not a UN sanctioned map. It's just the one from their website. Light green are former members. If you're not on this, then it's definitely worth asking with your organizations around that. One of the most relevant groups within the IUGG is the International Association of Geodesy, IAG. And that particular subgroup, particular association, is purely focused around geodesy, around that science of understanding, measuring the three fundamental properties of the Earth: geometric shape, rotation, orientation, and gravity field. As I mentioned there, it's got many different commissions who are looking after specific specialities of geodesy, reference frames, Earth rotation, positioning, but it also has some subgroups in there. The IAG services, who are looking after the specific geodetic infrastructure technologies that Nick mentioned yesterday, VLBI, Doris, laser ranging, and so on. And they have another group which is helping to bring together those services and manage those. One of the important things that I'd like to bring out here, I've highlighted it in green, is that this association also has a dedicated group for communication and outreach. Now, before we were working on this, I did not think that the IAG would have a communication group. But the reason why they have the communication group is they have specialists in there who distill the technical geodesy information into more understandable words and phrases for the general community. And that's really important, because that's going to focus us on our communication session tomorrow. This is a snapshot of all of the different services, the geometric, general, and gravity services that fall under IAG. And also there's GGOS, the Global Geodetic Observing Scheme, which is a group who essentially coordinates and synchronizes, like a conductor of a symphony, the contribution of all of those other services you see on the left-hand side. Ultimately, the GGOS association is doing all that it can with those particular geodetic infrastructures to help provide that terrestrial reference frame that is good, more accurate than 1 millimeter, and stable, as it's got there in red, to better than 0.1 millimeters per year over a decade. So that essentially GGOS and its partner organizations there, that is their ultimate goal. You've seen some of these slides before, IGS and their coverage, laser ranging and so on. But this hopefully also shows to you where this critical infrastructure is missing in certain regions, especially so in Africa. This was a very big discussion point in Africa at the previous workshop. There's a couple of links in there if you're interested in learning more about GGOS and some of their collaborations, some links to books and so on. But again, all of these organizations These are all working very closely together, and it's probably the IGS organization that I'll show next is the one which will be easiest for you to access. This particular service is the International GNSS service, and that is bringing together data from GNSS cores infrastructure around the world and helping to provide that data to be generated into or creating geodetic products and also going into the GGOS. So IGS has now been operating for over 30 years, and its GNSS data is its main resource that it is working with. Contributions in Africa. This is taken from the IGS presentation that was released earlier this year, but it's very interesting for you to see this, and hopefully you'll take a look at this when we go through the business case. They got some very good sentences and phrases there around the benefits of contributing to the IGS network. So this information here is essentially marketing to national mapping agencies and geodesy groups why it's of benefit for you to contribute your data to them. So these are some very good sentences and points for you to be able to use in some of your activities on Thursday. We've heard about CORS guidelines, and again, this is a fantastic resource when you are looking to develop CORS infrastructure. If you want to have it compliant with IGS, meaning that you can build it and establish it and run it and maintain it at a level that would be compliant with these guidelines so that it potentially could be used in the ITRF realization. Site Log Manager, you heard that from Nick. That's also a free open source tool that can be used to help manage the metadata of GNSS cores and the registration for this. But all of this is available for you to look at later on. One of the opportunities that I'd like for you to consider is that IGS also has an associate member scheme where individuals, not organizations, are able to apply to become associate members of the IGS to get into its network and its community and be aware of the different activities that they are doing. So that's definitely something that if you are a GNSS cause person, or you aspire to be, or you will be involved in this, that's definitely a capacity development resource that I would consider you follow and apply for. I'd now like to present a little bit about the International Federation of Surveyors, and this is where I'll put my hat on. I'm the current chair of one of its commissions, Commission 5, which is looking into positioning and measurement. So I'll share a little bit about the FIG organization as a whole, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we do in Commission 5. And FIG is similar to IUGG and IAG, where it's a very well-established organization. FIG is coming up to 150 years old, and it's a federation of national surveying associations and organizations. It doesn't have members who are the mapping agencies. Its members are the surveying associations within different countries. One of the things that I did do in preparation for this, I saw who our current members are, and also I saw which countries are not in the FIG organization. So Thailand, Singapore, and India. I'll be coming and having a discussion with you later on. But essentially, and this is also very strongly around the capacity development. This organization, as an example, represents the interests of individual surveyors worldwide. Not mapping agencies, not geodetic agencies, but the individual surveyors through their member surveying associations. And it's a UN-recognized NGO. And it covers lots of different types of surveying. So it's not just geodesists, there's many different types of surveying there, including quantity surveyors. gives me shivers. Valuation surveyors and so on. But nevertheless, they're a surveyor. We have to. Yes.
What?
Grin and bear it.
Tolerate.
Tolerate. Yeah. Yeah. But this type of organization there has more than 120 countries represented in FIG with more than 300,000 members across those surveys. So it really is, it's one of the few organizations I know within our particular ecosystem with such a large membership base. And within FIG, it's like many well-established associations. It has different parts. It has a council in the middle with 4 vice presidents, a president, a director, and a commission chair, who's actually me at the moment. We also have commissions which relate to specific technical aspects of surveying. And we have networks, which I've shared with you before, the Young Surveyors Network, the regional networks as well. So it really is an organization where probably anybody in this room could fit in or benefit from the information in any of those. I mentioned that there are different commissions in here. There is actually 10 commissions in FIG. I'm the chair of the Positioning and Measurement, Commission 5, and we have working groups within our commission that cover a lot of different things, including reference frames, GNSS, PNT, and standards. So hopefully you see this is exactly where Geodesy fits in to the FIG ecosystem. But we also have other commissions which are also specialist, hydrographic surveying in Commission 4, and also engineering surveyors in Commission 6. Again, all 3 of those commissions are reliant and involved with Geodesy in some shape or form. Jump over these ones. Publications is also something which is a very strong, a very well-established capacity, capability that FIG is sharing. And we have a lot of publications in there. I think it's 81 official publications for different aspects of surveying, whether it is valuation surveying, reference frames in practice, low-cost GNSS positioning, and so on. But there's a considerable amount of resources that are available for free on the FIG webpage that I would definitely ask for you to consider. I would just like to share a little bit about some of our events. FIG has an annual event. For 3 years, it's a working week, and then every 4th year, it's a congress. And in the congress year, which will be in next year, 2026, that is when new president and commission chairs are elected. But we had our most recent event in Brisbane in April this year, and it was actually a joint event between FIG and also the Australian Geospatial Community, Geospatial Council of Australia. And I think there was more than 1,400 attendees coming into that event. But for Commission 5, our position and measurement, we had a very strong event this year. We had 5 days of workshops. We had a reference frame in practice pre-event where we were talking around geodetic reference frames and height vertical reference systems. And we had more than 670 attendees. So almost half of the working week came to our sessions in some shape or form, which was a really good one. We also had some special sessions together with the Asia Pacific network, and it was specifically around small island development states. You see a few faces as well here from the Pacific community, Australian government, Geoscience Australia, IGS, Land Information New Zealand. So these were specific sessions which had a Geodesy theme. And even though it may not have been talking in details about Geodesy, we were talking around where the benefits of Geodesy are. So, for example, in the small island development states, the effects of climate change on people's livelihood, rising sea levels, of course, is an extremely important and critical topic. And again, Geodesy is a key part there of helping to measure that relentless change. We also had our reference frame and practice workshop, which is an event that we do ahead of every FIG event. This is organized together with our partners from IGS, GGCE, the Pacific Community, and also UN-USA, United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, and their International Committee for GNSS, the same organization that Nick made a presentation to last year in New Zealand. We also were very fortunate to get some corporate funding to help bring in some additional attendees. And actually, there's some recipients here as well who were able to attend in Brisbane from Nepal, Iran, and Sri Lanka. So it was really good. But this is a very good example of another capacity development organization that's done. There were 64 attendees at this pre-event, which is the highest that we've ever had in running this for more than 10 years. We had really strong support from Geoscience Australia and Land Information New Zealand, but we had a day and a half discussion around the latest advances from the international geodesy community, but also different country reports. And these are very good examples, just like as Nick has been saying, where these experts are able to come in and talk about some of these topics, like vertical reference frames and some of the challenges with a bigger community. We updated just last year our reference frame and practice manual, which is a collection of materials from these workshops over the last 10 years. And we're very grateful to do this in collaboration with UN-GGCE and also IGS, and that's a resource that's available for you to download at any time. And we've got a number of upcoming events. Next year in May, we'll have our 4-year Congress in Cape Town in South Africa. It'll actually be the second FIG event in 3 years in the African region. So that's also an area where, in collaboration with the UN-GGCE, we'll be planning to host another RFIP workshop there as well. It was also very good in our Kenya workshop just a month ago to be able to talk and promote this, because it's these events where you get people together, where they can share and discuss and have a coffee and talk about their challenges, which are really important. And we got some further events in Norway and Paris in the upcoming years as well. I just want to close a little bit with a few words about the International Committee on GNSS. Again, that's a UN organization, but it's a group that's been founded, excuse me, it was founded 2003 or 2004 as a collaboration between the IUGG and FIG to bring together the GNSS constellation providers so that they could share and start to work together towards sharing a common reference frame. Because obviously each of the constellations has its own specific reference frame, WHS-84, PZ-90, and so on. But the interoperability, how the community, how the surveying community especially could use the signals coming from multiple constellations in a single receiver required that single international terrestrial reference frame. So this is also a very good opportunity where Nick and his team can also meet and have those discussions directly with the GNSS constellation providers. As Nick mentioned before, these organizations are aware that there's the challenge, but it's these forums where you can actually get face-to-face and have the discussion, have panel discussions, have side discussions where you can really work towards improving this. So the last meeting last year in November was in New Zealand, and it's held annually. It's going to be in South Korea this year, also I think in October this year. But that's also a very important activity. And it's not only for the GNSS constellation providers, but there is also working groups talking around SBAS, satellite-based augmentation systems. So the Indian Space Agency, they have a group there who represent and talk about the NAVIC system. Geoscience Australia and LINS They are also there as part of those discussions around the Southpan system, as well as Galileo, EGNOS, and US's WAS system as well. One of the groups, a working group in here, it's not just around the satellites and the signals, but that reference frame. That's also another very important group that FIG is involved with, together with IAG and IGS as well. And these are really important, because if the reference frame part is not considered, then that's a huge part of that user community would then find it very difficult to access this data. So just to summarize, there are many different international geodesy initiatives taking place, and this is just a number of them, but I think these are the most important. These are definitely the flagship ones with IUGG and IAG. There are partners also who are involved in and around surveying and geodesy. All of these organizations that I presented up there, these essentially are volunteer organizations. There may be a few paid staff in the offices for this, doing the administration, but the technical experts on these are all volunteers. I can say that with almost 100% certainty. So these collaborations, these groups working together to help define IGS cores, guidelines, to have IAG geodesy workshops, to have reference frame and practice workshops, and so on. This is all in-kind contribution from volunteers doing it because they enjoy doing it. But it means it's also very risky. You know, if somebody decides they don't want to do it anymore for whatever reason, then this is significant amounts of capability could be lost or missing. So this is also one very important thing which I'd like for you to understand. This particular small part of the global geodesy supply chain is also very weak. These volunteers helping to coordinate, helping to go into webinars and talk about things. That again is another weakness that we have in that. So around that, I'd also like for you to consider to volunteer, to get involved in some of these groups, not only to network and raise your understanding, but also to help ensure that we have more sustainability in this than before as well. And it's definitely a case, I would say, there, the stronger together around the international geodesy and partners is extremely relevant, extremely relevant. So yeah, we've got 20 minutes or so. I just want to open the floor and ask if, yes, I've raised those. Just ask if there's any questions from the floor around anything you've seen here, around the geodesy initiatives, the partnerships, the capacity development, or any that we might have missed that are across the region.
Thanks, Ryan. It's just not a question, but a comment. Is I mean, from the Pacific Geospatial Surveying Council Partnership Desk and as a rep now, mobilizing resources in our region is the key thing, and building partnership and building that collaboration as well is also the key. And I understand when we say the stronger together that's what we are looking into as well. And then that's how we are able to achieve, building capacity, building capability too as well in the region too as well. I mean, we started back in 2014, but looking at it now, we are able to achieve a lot as well. I mean, having said that, after the last year's session, we were able to get the UN-GGCE in the region too as well. And on the IGIF initiatives, which you presented on the deep dive session, that was also quite important. So later this year, we are taking another step of having a sub-regional workshop with SDG Data Alliance to focus on some countries to have a data hub. So something around that as well is just one example on mobilizing resources and getting experts who are part of that data alliance to come to Fiji and host that sub-regional workshop. So something as well, it will be great to as well to see if UN-GGCE can come to the Pacific too as well. And we have, we are happy to host in Suva as well for UN-GGCE for the Pacific too. Thank you.
Thanks, Hendrik. I think that's as we were saying before, that's a very good example. If groups have that understanding, have a clear idea of what they want to do, what they want to provide, what they are willing to do to get that, then that's where the center or even some of these partner organizations would be more than happy to come and contribute where they can, add their weight, add their expertise in support of something that you've initiated. Sure. Victor?
Thank you, Ryan. It is very comprehensive sharing of the capacity development in Geodesy. I observed that the formal education part, there isn't much information on that. Perhaps we should also compile a list of the formal education that may help some member states in terms of sending young the younger generation for the formal education. I think that's just my suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good point. And yeah, I hate to say I've got a little post-it note here already for around that, but yes, that's one of the things that we definitely, and also the community, would be very good to hear and understand, where there are organizations in different countries providing, Geodesy training or education at different levels, whether it's an undergrad or a master's, or even it might be a short course, a couple of days or a couple of weeks course around certain parts. And we'll definitely, I think one of the things we're happy to do is to help relay that information. But we would definitely like to receive that where people are aware. So if maybe that can be my call, is that if you are aware of any courses or universities within your respective nation, to share that with us, and we can start to build that list together. That's the most effective one, because then you can say, well, yes, we know that USQ does something, or NUT or NUS, does something as well, would be very good. Actually, I did announce through the FIG Commission 5 webpage or LinkedIn page that there is a new master's in Geodesy in English at the Technical University of Vienna, which has just been launched as well. So that's one of the things that we have communicated to the FIG Commission. But yes, it would be good to be able to better collaborate this to share where there are opportunities.
If I can, I'd like to dig in on what Victor's talking about. When we did the listening tour, that formal capacity development need was something that was stressed by everybody. I expected to hear it from some of the developing countries, but I heard it even in all of the developed countries, like all throughout Europe, Australia, the US. I was hearing it everywhere. And the challenge is that it's very hard to do that from a bottom-up approach. That recognition of the importance of geodesy, I think that my gut feeling is that you could put in a lot of time and effort invested in trying to convince the dean of universities to keep that course open. In reality, the approach that we're taking is we are trying to influence the governments themselves. Once the governments recognize the value of geodesy, then I think you can have a real discussion about how the government can then support that within universities. I almost see that the way I'm trying to explain it to governments, and in particular in the European Commission at the moment, is to explain to them that there's a sovereign risk to the region, and they therefore need to mitigate that risk by having a sovereign capability. And that sovereign capability means that they need to find ways to train people in that field. Yes, the most effective and efficient way would probably be to support and maintain those functions within the university sector. But there's probably going to have to be some push from the top down to provide that support to the universities and keep those courses running, because the universities are running courses, they're running universities as a business. And if there is no push coming from the bottom to the top to keep those courses open, it's going to have to be subsidized in the short term from the government, in my perspective. So we've had a lot of people who said, oh, can you talk to my dean? Can you talk? And I'm happy to do things like that. But the long-term way to fix this problem is there needs to be more evidence and more awareness about the importance of geodesy, and it's got to come from top down. And the countries that are doing it well, they have a strong recognition of that critical risk of geodesy. And I'll point to China in particular. They understand the value of this and they support it very strongly from the government. They support the universities with the training that's happening within those regions. They're producing so many geodesists. So you talk to China, there's no geodesy crisis in China. There's a great recognition that it's a great job. You're working with space data. You get to work with lasers and VLBI. They do a great job in advertising it. So I'm trying to also learn from what is the messages that they're sending and what is the story that they're telling, and how can other people take advantage of that? Because to me, it's all about messaging, and it's got to be more top down. At the moment, there's a lot of hard work going on within universities to keep those doors open, but us pushing from the bottom up and trying to convince deans that it should fit with their business model, that's just not going to be an effective strategy. We've got to keep convincing governments that they should be doing more to support the universities and stop treating as a business so much, and actually treat them as educational institutions to produce the people we need for the future.
I just share something. Sorry. For those who, since we're talking about capacity development, I'm promoting Patrick's invitation for the UNOSA at the UN and Indonesia Genesis workshop this coming November. So applications is now open. So you might want to visit the UNOSA website for the capacity development.
What's the name of the workshop? Sorry,
it's UN Indonesia workshop on the application of GNSS.
Great, thank you.
Other form of education could be online courses or very well developed, like teaching materials. So combine forces. We don't have to do one person talking to a room of students, and it could be one person deliver very good lecture, so all of us can watch. Are there resources like compiled already? I'm sure there are already quite a lot resources already online, but
we're recording you right now. So it's a great question, and that's why we're recording this workshop. We had lots of applicants who aren't at this workshop who applied and wanted to be here, but we are recording these, so we're making these as formal education material available. We've already got the Africa workshop up and available online. So these are the kind of, more formal training capacity development options that we're providing. The other thing that we're doing is we're taking feedback on where are the particular things that, instead of looking across the board, we've already heard some discussions around particulars on ITRF or geode model development, where there might be some more dedicated training we can do. Our plan is to design a program of putting that material together next year, and then that we would make that available online as well. As you know, working in academia, it takes a long time to build these sets of materials. So the good thing is that that's a role the centre can play. We can work with communities, build that material and make it available online. So part of next year would be to do some more targeted things like that. So I'd encourage you all to think about what kind of more detailed or technical workshops you might like to see that are done online. And that would be recorded material that people can watch it at any time. So thanks for bringing that up. I think it's an excellent point.
It could be also bite-sized, like short videos. Yeah, as it's easy to start as like short videos. Yeah, just explain one thing. Yeah.
So Jack, maybe how to build a geoid model in 30 seconds. Go, right? something like that.
We're already all over this.
Tick-
That's what we're doing next week.
Put it on TikTok. Yeah. All right. Jack's on it. No worries. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I respond? This is an embarrassing self-plug here, but like I work at the University of Southern Queensland and 80% of my students are online. So pretty much all the resources we produce are for an online environment. So I'm in the Let's Make Geodesy Open for Everybody space. So we've written some textbooks that are open and online for people. The first one is ironically called Lost Without It, What Happens If We Didn't Have GPS. And so it's about understanding the basics of GPS. And there's another one coming later this year that's a little bit more kind of geodetic surveying focused, even though it doesn't cover all the aspects of geodesy. It covers a lot of the basic stuff. But we're pushing to get some of the videos. Like I have a very short attention span for those that know me. So my videos are about 4 minutes long at the longest because I can't concentrate longer than that. So, so some of those resources we're pushing out hopefully soon as well. We're just talking to amazing people like Jack and Lisa about how we can leverage GA's expertise and capture that and share that as well. So watch this space.
Do share with us so we can also share with our students and other people who know and try to make you an influencer.
And like that's a good capacity building opportunity for us as academics as well, for me to share how we've done that so you can do similar things. I know Richard's got some really good stuff too, so hit him up.
If I can just add some points here, I think this is another really good one, that it's not necessarily the center creating all of this material. I reckon that all of your departments has some useful 4-minute bite that's interesting and relevant to somebody. So that's also where you can contribute this that can go into the big ecosystem as well.
I think for meanwhile, there's this channel by Mehdi Isaaq. I don't know how to pronounce him, but he's actually putting a lot of geodesy related material, lecture notes, lecture recordings online. And then there's Martin Vermeer website. It also has recordings. So I think this can be used meanwhile.
Could you send me an email to share those links with me, and I'll be able to send those around to people. Yeah, and also maybe put links to them on our website, so people looking to get more detail, I can send it on. So that would be great. Thank you.
And recently, Matej Varga also started sharing some of the very good material regarding basic surveying and other kind of stuff. I'll send that as well.
So I think we've sorted the capacity development. We're going to have a few YouTube sites of thousands of 4-minute bites of geodesy.
Yeah, I want to add on that. Yeah, one of the things I think with the capacity development that has worked for us is one thing is for many years we try to do, especially with modernizing reference frame, we try to do everything at once. And then for that thing, we needed a lot of budget and maybe a lot of capacity, and it never worked. So later we thought maybe we do step by step. And then we thought, okay, let's start with just putting the monuments. So once we did that, it has created some interest within the leadership. And maybe they are now more interested in developing this and completing this. So they are asking, when are you going to finish this? So that has worked for us. And another thing is that I want to add is especially having a dedicated expert mentorship has worked for us, especially with the monumentation of the course station. And in this, John Galeska, he has visited Nepal a lot of times. So we have contact with him, and he's not a formal mentor or something, but every time we have some problems, we try to mail him, and then he tries to connect and provide suggestion. And I think for other things also, maybe having some expert mentors who can like provide suggestions now and then, I think that could be helpful.
You can't find many people better than John to help you with talking about monumentation.
Exactly.
He lives and breathes monumentation. He's done studies on all the different types. So you found a good one there.
Yeah.
Did you say he came to visit Nepal as well?
Yeah, he has some other engagements, so he's in Nepal every year. So every time he is here, he comes to the survey department, has tea, talks about the progress, and provides suggestions to us.
Right.
Can anybody else share any insights into, what they are doing for capacity development? Is there any little tips or tricks that you found that can help make a difference? How is your engagement with your local universities? Oh,
So for us and Amria, we're taking interns from the university, and then we yes, no, not really. Sorry, but normal for this year we asked them what they wanted to do, but they're interested in photogrammetry and stuff like that. They don't want the math, but since the photogrammetry division is not accepting, we just took them in, and then one of the professors from the university just said, just take them in and then try to convince them to be interested in geodesy.
Okay, I think the advice there was tie people to a seat until they agree to do geodesy for you. Is that working?
We were able to convince one, Dr. Jack Sarmiento. He's not really into geodesy, but we were able to convince him to do his dissertation on height systems in Australia.
thanks, Annie. So I think there we have some influencers already.
Yeah, it's a different kind.
Just to build on that, like as somebody who talks to students a lot about what they want to do when they graduate, like obviously geodesy is the thing I'm most passionate about. I teach a whole bunch of other stuff that I care less about, but geodesy is the top of the pile. And being able to tell them where the career paths and job opportunities for geodesy can sometimes be challenging. So making sure everyone's like, yes, yeah, right. It's not just me. Making sure like if you have those opportunities that you talk to your universities and tell us that you have those opportunities so we can communicate that with the students. Like it's become, when I graduated, it wasn't really an option. I kind of accidentally weaseled my way in sideways to it and they couldn't get rid of me. But nowadays it's a much more clear career path. And if you have those opportunities or make those opportunities in your governments and your departments, and then we'll throw some students at them, I promise.
Thanks, Chris. That's also another nice segue to when we get onto the communications session as well, because that also is another really critical part, is how do we make geodesy sexy and exciting? We all enjoy the equations. Oh, sorry.
Are you implying it wasn't to start with, Ryan? Because that's not okay.
That's why I got glasses now. Yeah. But that's also another really important part is, we as the geodesy community are members of that. We also have a responsibility to help, it be better understood. More challenging. So yes. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I'm going to bring today's session to a close, unless you want a couple of words, Nick.
Is there another one? Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
Sorry, for the Indonesia is, I think, we have strong. We have a chance of the presidents. So we have a chance our policy program. I think I'm afraid that the last year UN-GGCE meeting in the December is the last meeting that we can hold in Indonesia. So is there any chance that Indonesia we want to contribute more about the this forum, but is there any chance that we could contribute without the because we have a budget limitation, and we want to maybe held any other seminar, any other workshop, any other meeting in Indonesia. But is there any chance? If I'm sorry, but if there's any chance that we just provide the maybe the venue, maybe the tenaga, maybe the volunteering about the people, but about the budget we have a budget limitation because of that. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I know the situation in Indonesia. We're very grateful for what you did to host the meeting for us last year. It was a very big commitment and very much appreciated. We don't plan on hosting an event of that scale every year, particularly this year because we're doing the capacity development workshops, but in the future we likely would. So thank you for offering to provide assistance where you can. But yeah, we totally understand around future commitments and the need to be able to do that. So thank you for offering to provide the in-kind support. And I think that's going to be valuable. I think the best thing in terms of what countries like yourselves can do to provide assistance at the moment is I would recommend developing that sort of twinning relationship. So you find another country, based on Ryan's thing yesterday, particularly on the stuff that I think you're doing really well around geode model development, joining land-sea integration. I think one of the key players in the Asia Pacific region, you're quite developed and quite advanced in your way of thinking your way through this. So I would be open to taking suggestions of maybe having that twin relationship with other countries and providing support and assistance. It won't cost you money. It costs some time, obviously, but I think there's a great leadership role that you could play by taking on that role through the Asia Pacific region.
Looking forward to contribute more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it now. Anything further? Any more comments?
I can add.
Please.
So I have realized that talking with many government agencies that there is a problem about the funding mainly. So in my experience, like in this region, the funding, you can approach JICA. JICA is actively funding and setting up the course and course management software. So make up a good proposal. Please remember to put SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Put the minimum 5, you can achieve that. And land component is very important in that. Apart from this, is like the same as with World Bank and ADB. So World Bank, as I know, is in this region, they're funded in Laos for 48 cores. So you can put all these modernization or of datum and all, put it inside consultancy. All will be covered. So this is just a clear. And regarding the JICA, yes, they have funded 73 cores in Bangladesh, 110 in Cambodia. So I can say it's like, yeah, make a good proposal and they will accept. Yeah, and if you need a good core system, yes, please contact me. I also can contact you with the consultants in World Bank, ADB, and JICA. Thank you.
Thanks, Kapil. Okay, I think we might have to let our Japanese colleague get out of the room before everybody jumps on them. Perhaps he buys dinner for Sultan. No. Do you wish to respond, or or do you want to run?
Yes, usually JICA support the funding, but in technical part, GSI, we support countries and the development of GS cores in developing countries. So, and we also are running a training course, JICA training course on GNSS cores maintenance, development, and operation. And the course is now running in Japan. And actually, 4 participants in this course this year, 4 of them participate in the UN-GGCE capacity development workshop in Africa. So as we already discussed in the previous sessions in today, the collaboration is a key.
Great, thank you for that. No, it's really good to hear that there's other events going on at the same time, and that's probably something we can work on to better communicate around, because there's always opportunities there. But okay, everybody, thank you very much for your contributions today, especially the fact book session this morning. I'll just take another minute or 2 of your time, but we definitely saw from this side of the room a lot of enthusiasm around it. We did see a lot of scratching of heads and worrying, but we feel very confident that that means that it was something that was worthwhile for you. So please try and continue on with that. Please look into those.